Hi, welcome to our first screencast. Now, it's best if you can watch this with a partner. When I ask you some questions at the end of each slide, it's a good idea to discuss the answers with your partner and make notes. Now, if there isn't a partner available, then when I ask you questions, pause the presentation, think about the answers to my questions, write them down. You've got to take notes. It's important now that you pause the recording and you go and get a pencil and a piece of paper. Also, can you bring the notes to class and we'll look at them together? Yep. Okay, so this screencast is how to write a good report. Look at that perfect student there. Don't you want him in your class, huh? Now, I surveyed you to talk about your English language needs, and as you can see, report writing and giving clear feedback were areas that you said you had to think about, or you found very challenging. You see? This is a key difficulty that you have. So I want to know why. Most teachers don't find report writing easy, including me. Why not? Please press pause and write down your ideas. Okay, what is the purpose of a report? Who reads it? Is it for the school administration office, just to keep records? Is it to help you keep a database of information on your students that you can refer to? Is it a public relations thing to make Equal Bright look good? Is it for parents? If you give advice to the parents, do they read it? Do they just want to hear about positives about their children? Do parents ever react to reports you've written? Do they give you any feedback? And is it always about the score and the grade? Do they want to know about their child or just want to know what their score is? Is it for the student? Does the student read their report? If not, why not? And can you always think of something to write? Be honest, do you ever just repeat the same comments from student to student? Or is each report unique? Pause the video, think about it, and write down some notes, answers to the questions. Okay, well, there are no right or wrong answers. Read this report. What do you think? Now, try to read it. It's quite hard to read. It's from the 1960s, and it's a very bad photocopy. Read it. Make some notes. What is the subject? And what did the student do to deserve these comments? Pause the video and give it a read. Okay, now let's find out about John Gurdon, the schoolboy who got this report. Wow, John Gurdon, he's an award-winning research scientist, one of the most famous in the world. He's won the Lasker Award. That is the next award down from a Nobel Prize. So take a moment to read this, pause it, and have a look at my comments on the right-hand side of the screen. Okay, remember that terrible report? Well, John Gurdon has been successful, obviously. So talk about the effect that you think that report had on John Gurdon's career. Pause the video and have a think. Okay, it is possible to really motivate a student with negative comments. I'm not saying write nasty things about your students. However, think about somebody who has put on some weight and they see a photograph of themselves in their swimsuit. That's real negative motivation to go on a diet, right? Maybe that negative report was what made John Gurdon into a successful research scientist. Who knows? So, here are some do's and don'ts. If you read along with them, and I'll talk you through them. Do's and don'ts to writing a report. Now, maintain a focus on the child. Parents are only interested in their kid. They're not interested in the whole class. They're not interested in your methodology. They just want to know about their kid. Relate the comments to the outcomes. Now, you've got to show cause and effect. Consequences. Connect your comments to what has been achieved, and not just the grades. You know what the student has achieved. Focus on what has been learned and achieved. Stay on a positive tone and talk about the student's success, not how they failed. Now, this is important. Use parent-friendly language. Maintain a focus on the audience, your parent. Have some empathy. Think about what it's like to have a stranger discuss your child. Yeah? Give examples to help make it clear the statements that you make. When you say, Susan's creative writing has improved, give an example. Now, only identify strengths and challenges. Write about the challenges in a positive way. You've got to build the student up, don't destroy them. And then connect the next step to the challenge that you identified. Show students how they can deal with the challenge. Give advice, give direction, give an action plan. Why not? But always positive and always focus on the future. Right, those were the do's. These are the don'ts. List what was taught. Don't make lists to justify what you've taught. Don't talk about your methodology. Don't talk about the rest of the class. It's about the student. It's not about you. Don't include comments about attendance, homework, behaviour, attitude. All of these are administrative issues, really, and they can be written down, but elsewhere. Now, this do's and don'ts I found on the internet says they should be listed on a learner profile section of the report card, possibly by school administration. I don't know what your policy is, okay? Don't use teacher jargon. What's jargon? Jargon is language used only within the industry. So it's words that only really teachers understand. Things like module, assessment, feedback, intrinsic motivation, L2. Parents don't understand this. So use words that parents can understand. Okay? It's harder than you think. Don't overemphasize the negative, the challenges. Stick to the positive. If you list too many challenges, hey, a parent might ask why you're not teaching their perfect child more effectively. And before now, parents have taken their children out of the school for this. Okay? So, be mainly positive. This one, a lot of teachers disagree with. I think this is correct. Don't mix speaking to parents and students you should write in the third person, okay? Jason has achieved a lot this term. Jason has done well. Don't then speak to Jason directly. Good job, Jason. Well done. Bravo. Now, remember your parents are reading this in English as a second or third language, and they might get confused with the grammar. So speak in the third person all the time. We'll cover this a bit more in a later slide. Finally, why not talk about the direction that the class will go next semester? Okay? Now, I want you to pause and make notes. How will you satisfy the parents? Answer these questions here on a piece of paper. Okay, do go and visit the link at the bottom of this screen. It's very, very helpful, creating strong report card comments. It's a Canadian website, and it's very good. So this is the structure of your report. The opening anchor sentence. Now this is a general positive sentence to summarise your student's achievement in your class. The example here, Jane is meeting some of the expectations in math. Okay? You need to give examples of the achievements that Jane is meeting. Then you need to state her strengths, what she can do, what she's good at. Every student is good at something, yeah? Part 3, you've got to identify the challenges. Don't look at them as negatives, look at them as challenges. Make them clear, and then give an indication of how you know that the student has difficulty. You've got to show some evidence. Finally, the next step. Why not give an action plan? Show how the student can overcome these challenges. Okay? Now, pause the screencast now. Take a moment to read the example of Jane in her math class and make some notes about a student that you teach using this structure. Okay, now have a look at this. This is a real report. I got it off the internet, and it's an email report. Tell me what you think. OMG. This really went out to a parent. There's 14 serious mistakes in grammar and spelling here. Now, I believe that if you advertise an English-speaking school using bad English, it's the same as advertising a restaurant using pictures of rotten food. So, pause the screencast now. I want you to try and correct the errors. But before you do, on the home page of this website, you'll find a grammar book. It's written by Scott Thornbury and it's excellent. I would suggest that you get a partner and you go through one chapter of this grammar book every week. And by the time you finish this book, you will be an expert in English language. I promise you. Okay, pause the screencast and see if you can correct the errors. Right, so now let's look at some basic rules for writing a report.